go ahead.
Well, I hope everybody has had a good couple of days together. For me, this has been exactly what I wanted it to be. And that is a group of folks getting together who enjoy the outdoors, sharing their experiences and fun and knowledge, and just being themselves. To me, being outdoors is like being a kid again. And my wife tells me, as an example, when I build this little debris hut over in the yard, that's just your fort. And I smile and say, yes, it is. Okay, we've all come from different distances to get here. You know, some of us live in Knoxville, some of us live further away. Last year, the most distant traveler, I think, was Darby and Stephen. We have a traveler that came a little further than that. Come up here, Peter. You know, we hadn't met before, and Peter doesn't have a channel, yet he's been watching all of our stuff and decided to spend some time with us. And I'm really pleased and excited about that. Let's give him a hand.
So how far did Peter travel?
Dorset in England. And it's the south coast of England.
Can we get a translator?
I'm from the United Kingdom.
Funny. Way to go, Peter.
That's awesome.
It's been very good. Been made to feel very welcome. Nice guys, lovely ladies. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Give it up, Peter, all the way from the UK.
Come over here, Robert.
Take center stage, Robert.
I just wanted to say, Brian, can you stand up here, please? You come on up here. There.
Camera.
I'm shy, okay.
You all that went out on the hike, you all didn't see this guy in action. This guy talked to us about building the, I can't pronounce it, Nesmic?
The Nesmic.
Nesmic fire. This guy has abundance of knowledge you wouldn't believe about trees, different types of woods, how to build certain fires. He can grab everybody's attention and make you keep it. Same thing when we went to identify trees and plants. He had everybody there. He's the man. I mean, he made this day great. I mean, he's a lot of knowledge.
Well, thank you.
Really,
Good job.
Okay, you know, coming up here is my first time, and I didn't know what to expect. It's been a really fantastic experience. And I met a lot of great people up here, and I look forward to seeing you next year.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Yeah.
I learned some cool stuff about leatherworking from this gentleman over here.
Oh, yeah.
Dave.
Come here, Dave, get up here.
Dave,
He was here last year.
Yeah, I was here last year.
He was a troublemaker.
he still is.
And also, if we're gonna recognize people, we gotta recognize Doc. We gotta recognize Darby. Come on up here, Doc, Darby. They taught, who else taught a class?
We got some bow drill teachers too.
Yeah, where's our bow drill teachers?
See, come on.
Come on up.
Yeah.
There's one up over there.
Yeah, everybody that taught class, come up here. We want you on.
Yeah.
We probably had to get a little late.
We didn't teach you.
Everybody put your email address. Yeah, everybody up there.
Everybody that taught a class. You want up there? All right, John, get up. Let's give them all a round of applause. Remember, we didn't plan any of this. They just came forward and did all this stuff.
And-
Thanks for bringing that up, brother.
Thank you for your patience.
Not a problem, not a problem.
What is important and really, really important is that all of us have skills and knowledge, and we don't know how it's going to all connect. And that's the way people learned in the past, and that's the way we're learning now and having a lot of fun.
So should we just go peace?
You know how I end my videos.
Peace.
my name is Steve Robinson, and they call me Doc here for the reason that I am a doctor. I'm a family physician. I was raised in a rural area of Florida, and I think that's kind of my roots for why I enjoy bushcrafting. But I wanted to, instead of just having it just as a formal lecture, I thought it best to have it more as a conversation, because there's so much that we could talk about, but I would want to get mainly some of the main points that would interest you guys. All of us have some rudimentary, at least, ideas of first aid growing up, and maybe some courses that you took in school, or from that standpoint. There's been a lot of advances in the field of first aid, things that were taught 30 years ago. Sometimes it's the exact opposite now. So I'll be happy to serve as the moderator and start with the topics. And if someone has a question or has something they want to interject, feel free to do so. I think it would be much more interesting.
As there's a lot of baby boomers here, what happens if someone does have a heart attack? I mean, you basically just say la vie. You know?
Well, one of the things that is always nice as bushcrafters, we always have packs that we carry around. And one of the important parts of the packs, I would say, is having a first aid kit. But I would always recommend putting aspirin in to address the heart attack issue. If you're having chest pain, usually there's very little contraindication for giving someone a regular dose, 325 milligrams of aspirin, if they're having if you think they're having chest pain, having a heart attack. Of course, some people are allergic to it, so you want to ask them, do you have an allergy to aspirin before you gave it? But 325 milligrams of aspirin, one dose, is usually not going to be a major problem. It's over the counter, and a lot of people take it for headaches, that sort of thing. Yes, sir.
Nitroglycerin?
That's a prescription medication. If you have trouble with your heart, usually most doctors, your personal physician would give that to you. I would recommend keeping it with you. Especially, I would not keep it in a pack like this in your car. If you're going to go out, I would go ahead and put it on your person. And you want to make sure nitroglycerin expires quicker than other medications. And those who have that problem will know about that. I don't necessarily recommend it for people that just have chest pain and someone happens to have nitroglycerin. I would say if you have a physician there and you offer it to the physician as something to use, that would be great. But that's probably getting a little more technical than we should do. A lot of times in bushcrafting, we do like to push our limits. In this day and age, I would probably stick to the basics because sometimes, medicine is poison, and it's medicine for someone and it's poison for someone else. And you never, part of our oath is first to do no harm, and that's a good thing to keep in mind. Nitroglycerin can sometimes do a great deal of harm if, given to someone that's very low blood pressure or something like that. So, yes, sir.
That kind of brings it into a subject. I actually work in the parks field. I was a park ranger with the state for 6 years, and now I'm a park manager for a locality park. But when you're hiking with people, especially people you don't know, it's good to talk. If you've got a major medical condition, like you have a heart condition, or you're allergic to bees and you carry an EpiPen, it's good to let somebody in your group know you have this. Or diabetics. We see more diabetics drop out in a park setting than anything else. So it's good to at least let somebody else in your group know, I have this condition, I take this medicine, and maybe these are the signs I have. Because sometimes diabetics don't even catch, especially when you get into that pushing going on the trail. And they forget, I've spent 3 hours on the trail, I haven't eaten anything, and their blood sugar starts to drop or something like that. So it's good to let people know that you're hiking with. If you have any major concerns or medical things, and just how to address it and kind of some of the signs to look for, because stop an emergency is better than having to treat an emergency.
Yeah. Some things to keep in mind, sun exposure, dehydration. If you want to make sure you carry water, and I think all of us know that. things to keep in a kit on your person, I think bandages are an excellent thing. You know, rolled gauze. Sometimes you can keep a small roll of gauze, and then you know, plenty of water is one thing. I heard that we had an incident with a potential eye injury last night. The thing, you know, of course you can. The thing we worry about with eye injuries is hurting the cornea, which is the outer part of the eye that gives you most of the magnification and lets you see. There's not much that you can do about that except for trying to prevent infection out in the field and just irrigating the eye to try to get rid of that stuff. A lot of the solution is dilution, you've heard, and that goes with wounds on the eye, wounds on any part of your body on the skin. Irrigating it with fairly clean water is a great idea. And, you know, if you have antibiotic ointment, I think that would be great. You can buy little packs or little small tubes, keep it, and first water. If you have soap, that's great. If not, just water. Stopping the bleeding with pressure. Well, you can put a little bit of antibiotic ointment if you're not going to be back anytime soon, and bandage it. Yes?
What should we look for as far as dehydration?
Usually there's a bunch of different things. Your mouth starts drying up, your heart rate starts staying up even when you're at rest. You're not sweating as much when you get into the later stage of the dehydration. And because of that, that's the way your body gets rid of the heat, the excess heat. And so you'll notice that people start getting temperatures because they can't sweat anymore. Their urine output goes down. They're not wanting to urinate much. Yes?
That's a key from all the training that I've been through. I've been through wilderness survival, wilderness first aid and stuff. Urination. Basically, we all walk around at a level of dehydration to begin with. When you go out in the woods, it begins more. The color of your urine and the frequency is the best way to monitor how dehydrated you are.
Your pee is real dark. You don't have enough water.
If it's got a little yellow tinge, you're all right. If it's yellow, you got a problem. If it looks like apple juice, you need to drink a whole bottle of whatever water you can get. Sit down and find another one.
If you find somebody that's dehydrated, I was always told first let them sip. Don't give them a lot of water until they get used to it. Because give them a lot of water, they just throw it up. You know?
I think that's a great idea. That's a great point.
So it's okay to drink it if it's not dehydrated.
Okay to drink water.
It's not the urine.
As someone said, prevention's the best thing. Yeah, once you get to the later stages of dehydration, hospitalization is recommended. Yeah, you want to lower that temperature as well as help with getting the fluids back in. But we want to hit things before they happen that way. And if you notice that you're doing a lot of walking in the sun, and you have an option to be in the shade, I would do something like that. You know, any other thoughts or additions on dehydration? Yes, ma'am.
What are your thoughts about rationing? A lot of us most people carry 2 liters of water around about in the purification system, but if you're on a stretch of backcountry where you don't know if you're going to be able to refuel your water that day, it might be a whole day with just that 2 liters of water. Do you think you time out your drinking, you just drink when you're thirsty and run the risk of being out when you get to where you're going, or what do you think protocol in that situation is?
I'm just thinking in terms of more a bushcrafter now than a physician, because, you know, getting the signs of dehydration and the treatment would be kind of the medical area. In any time that you're planning to do something, I would look and make sure you have what you need to do it. Now, if you happen by some accident to be thrown out somewhere and you know your water supply is not going to last as long as you need to get to where you're going, I would suggest looking at options and ways to manage it better. You know, are you going to travel at night versus traveling in the day when it's the hottest? Are you going to take more frequent breaks? That sort of thing. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Does anyone else have any ideas
When I was in the Army in Vietnam in the infantry, they said you just keep drinking all the water you can when you need it. And then if you run out of water, then you really need to start searching for water. Because it happened times where they were supposed to resupply for 3 days, and they pick you up at 6 or 7 because of the water. But today he said you got to keep your body moving to that to that direction, and then worry about that other 25%, which you always plan. 1's good, 2's better, and 3's save your life. And if you don't do that, you're dragging everybody else down. So that's why I always say 1's got to really help everybody else. If you don't have enough water, you need to take more water, or ask a lot of questions.
With the age of technology we have now, you can go find reports on the trail, find out what the conditions are, find out if there's enough water, what the distance is between the water, or such and such spring is dried up. It really sucks to be hiking and plan to be going to a spring and then get there and find out it's dry too late. But yeah, plan, do that, and then drink your water. And then if you front load before you go out, you drink as much water as you can before you get on the trail when you have it readily accessible. You're not going to need it as early on the trail, so that makes it go further along. And then don't pass up water if you're hiking. If your bottle's half full and you know that spring, that's enough to get you to the spring, still top your bottle off. I mean, you can top your bottle off, top your water off.
Common injury, people who like to walk. Blister control and blister treatment, what you can carry out there with you. People say, hey, slap some 100-mile-an-hour tape on it, moleskin, that type of thing, pop the blisters, not to pop the blisters, especially if you get some big ugly ones.
Well, we were talking about blisters with burn injuries. Now we're talking about blisters with injuries to repetitive friction to the skin. Again, the blister shows that there's damage to the tissue. The popping, it's not going to do much except for cause an opening there. The blister will eventually pop, but I wouldn't try to add that to what's going on. Sometimes I think, especially on toes, they would do that to try to relieve the pressure and the pain from the blister being there. From my standpoint, looking at it from a medical perspective, you're having injury because the shoe and the sock are poor fitting, or it's just overuse. You're walking, you haven't built up adequate callus to that area. So being easy on that area, if it's an improper shoe and the sock's worn out, try to find something that makes it better fitting. If it's because you're walking too much, because you've got water or sand or rocks in there, trying to figure out what's causing that and trying to prevent that from getting worse would be my answer to that.
2 socks. You wear a pair of thin socks underneath the other pair. That friction of your foot that would have been on the shoe is now sock on sock. That makes a big difference on there too. Because now you've got these 2 pieces moving, and it's not your skin and the other part.
What kind of sock do you wear underneath? Like a dress sock?
You can wear a dress sock, a nylon sock, a polypropylene. They sell these liner socks. Most of the outdoor stores sell these little thin liner socks. They're good for wicking moisture away. They take up nothing. And they also, if you're dealing with cold temperatures, it adds another thermal layer to that wool sock. But a wool outer sock year round and a good nylon polyester type sock on the inside. Make sure it's not tight fitting. Some of them are tight fitting. You don't want tight fitting, but you don't want super loose. You just want a snug sock. So when you're walking, it does this.
Any other questions?
About Giardia. I had that about 4 years ago, and I tell you, I have a new respect for women because I thought I was having a baby. I mean, it hurt so bad in my lower guts, and I was like 2 days away from town. So I was in 3 o'clock in the morning. I was rolling around almost naked in the ground of the woods, just holding my stomach, saying, "Lord Jesus, help me! Oh, help me, Lord!" Because it was so painful. It was like somebody was wringing my guts.
Well, some good points to come from that. If most of the time that's going to bring us to go to our doctor. Giardia is an infection that usually is not going to hit you on the trail. It's going to be, several days or at least a day afterward. And so by that time, most people are going to be done with what they have been doing. And when you go to your doctor, tell them that piece of information. Hey, I was out in this area and I had some water that probably may not have been as clean as I thought. That will give them a clue to check for things like that, which they may not check. It's not something in the city that we're worried about in the U.S.
Is that something that will normally pass through though? I mean, because about 12 hours later I was okay.
So, some people, and if you haven't had the formal diagnosis, who knows what it was? I mean, there's specific tests for Giardia and a number of other bacteria. So getting tested is one thing. There are people that their immune system takes care of it, but if you're not one of them, then it's something. Some people can live with it just chronically, and they just have problems for weeks to months before it gets solved. Diarrhea all the time, upset stomach. There's some that it really puts them into the hospital.
Dehydrated.
Yes.
I wanted to get your perspective on this. All growing up, the old timers used to tell me you need to eat a pound of dirt in your life to be healthy. And I'm seeing a trend that we're being too sanitized in our daily lives. What is your perspective on?
Depends on where that dirt's been.
Well, yeah, but now you see people grabbing hand sanitizer for everything. Where do you see? Do you see evidence that we're getting things more because we're becoming a more sanitized nation versus people that are out rough and tumble playing the dirt?
Excellent point.
And versus the people that are in the office environment, in the home environment all the time.
There is a growing school of thought in medicine. There are studies to back this up that being exposed to bacteria all the time is a good thing and not necessarily a bad thing. There are studies even with pinpointing some allergies back to the fact that we've been preventing exposure to certain birds. And for one example, having chickens protected you against asthma. And they don't know whether there was some link of you got exposed to something that the chickens had that helped with your immunity. The whole idea with probiotics now, everyone's probably heard that and seen that over the counter. The fact that the gut bacteria is such a large biome inside the human body. We never thought that all of that genetic material and those chemicals that are being produced by the bacteria in the gut affect things. There's studies even showing that it's affecting heart attack, that the connection with red meat lets a certain bacteria grow that digests that red meat, that bacteria produces certain chemicals that we call, some people would say were toxins that promote atherosclerosis or hardening of the arteries. Just lots of evidence going that way. So we do know there are such things as good bacteria that promotes growth or symbiosis, that we live together in friendship, that without this bacteria, we would have problems. And we do when we lose that. Broken bones, I think that's a fairly common thing that happens. In terms of what to put in your kit for that, I don't, some people think putting in an ACE bandage, I guess it depends on how much you have, room in your pack for that. If you
Don't make it too tight.
What's that?
Don't make it too tight. 'Cause I did that one time and my foot turned blue.
Yes, resting whatever was injured is good. Applying ice is great. Compression to some degree to where it's comfortable is okay, and then elevation is excellent. Now, if you're out in the field and you have to walk to get back, that you want to do the best you can to rest it. If it's a sprained ankle, which I think is a very common injury, you know, a lot of times trying not to put as much pressure on it.
Make yourself a cane if you
Yeah,
can.
a cane. If you have a limb, an arm, or a leg that you suspect was broken from an injury, you can sometimes try to make a splint out of it. If you've got wood around, and you've got like a bandage roll that I'd mentioned, you can put it over the area that you're concerned about to particular sticks or one, and then kind of hold one end of the extremity, tie the other, just to kind of protect it, to keep it from moving around a lot. The key is it's very painful if you're moving around something that you would consider broken. Making a sling, you can do the same thing.